Follow, engage, share. TVC News, first, accurate, reliable.
I'm Evander Holyfield, the four-time heavyweight champion of the world. Keep watching TVC News.
Hello and thanks for joining the midweek edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Veronica Danik Boy. Today on the program, Red Cross, NGOs outraged over killing of Hawa Leman, demand action from federal government as Senate plans talks with security chiefs over abductees. Governor Umahi endorses Obi, but says Southeast leaders not consulted before choice was made. And later on the show, Pengasan wants federal government to resolve wage impasse before November. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Gani, Kayode Balogun, and Dari Odufowokan. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Well, Journalist Hangout starts now. It has been dubbed one killing too many, so the uproar over the horrific murder of a Red Cross humanitarian worker Hawa Leman by Boko Haram insurgents on Monday continues. Hawa's employers, the International Committee of the Red Cross, the Bring Back Our Girls, BBOG, the Amnesty International, and a host of other non-governmental organizations are still outraged over the killing of the aid worker. These groups believe it is wrong for voluntary aid workers to be unprotected. They are demanding more action from the federal government to secure the release of other victims still in captivity, even as the Senate plans to parley with security chiefs over other abductees. To this end, the end to this nightmare seems fallen. Let's listen to Hawa Leman's family.
It is a time of mourning at the home of Mohammed and Yakachi Leman, whose 24-year-old daughter was killed earlier in the week by Boko Haram. Her mother is sorrowful.
I still can't come to terms with my daughter's death. All her captors wanted is money. The president announced that he will ensure my daughter is freed, but her captors were not patient to get payment. The period President Buhari made the announcement and the time she was killed was very short. These are women and aid workers who should have been spared.
Her sister can't seem to stop crying, and her father says she wanted to serve humanity.
I remember her for her kindness, for her humility, and for her, in fact, I don't know, she was a kind daughter, and I will remember her forever.
Leman and two other aid workers, Alice Loksha and Saifura Husseini, were abducted from a displaced persons camp in Ran, about 170 kilometers from Maiduguri in March. Husseini was killed last month. At the time Leman was about to be kidnapped, she sent this WhatsApp audio message to her friend.
We are under attack in Iran. They are shooting everywhere. Please, pray for me. Please go and tell my parents that I'm in trouble. Please, look for Fatima and tell her they are taking us away. They have entered here now.
She was killed after a deadline set by a Boko Haram splinter group expired. A senior official of the Red Cross says the body decided against paying ransom, as it would set a dangerous precedent for the 16,000 aid workers it deploys in 80 countries.
They have always demands, and they know worldwide that we cannot pay. We can't pay ransom. If we started doing this, imagine what would happen elsewhere. We would be a target everywhere if it was known that the ICRC or any other humanitarian organization would pay for their staff. That would be disaster.
A memorial altar has been set up for Liman at the headquarters of the International Committee of the Red Cross, and the humanitarian body says it has no plans to suspend or withdraw its operations in northern Nigeria.
A really sad one, the agony of a parent, Judy, but the terrorists had initially written a message in blood when, according to them, the government wasn't paying them attention, and they promised to take the life of another worker within a certain period. Could this have been averted? Could the killing have been averted?
We could have been averted if we agreed to their demands, but you and I do not know what those demands are.
Yeah.
The terrorist group did not communicate its demands to anyone. It is not practicable to agree to every demand of the terrorist group. If, for example, they say that all Boko Haram detainees in detention should be freed, and in exchange for one person, I'm sure the government will not negotiate. And I remember this same bloodthirsty Abu Musab al-Banawi faction of the Boko Haram demanding, after the attack on oil workers in the Magumeri area of Borno State, that the army should stop bombing its locations. You and I know that the army will not agree to that kind of demand, because when a terrorist group makes that kind of demand, it suggests weakness. It suggests that some of our methods are working. You don't then now listen to them and say, oh, we are going to stop these bombings. You know, you can't stop the bombings, because if you stop the bombings, you give them an opportunity to regroup, you give them an opportunity to get stronger, and you put them in at a vantage position to kill more troops than they are killing currently. So, because they are killing a lot of our soldiers currently. If you have relations in the army, you know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
And a lot of these stories are not reported. Like the one that I talked about yesterday, the attack on Melete, where 18 soldiers were killed and some of their equipment taken away. You will not read it in any newspaper, but it happened. So nobody knows the demand that they made to the government. So it will be unfair to say at this point that why didn't they make those demands? You know, because you don't know what those demands are. Yeah. They can make unrealistic demands. And in the past, you and I know that we've negotiated with these people, but those negotiations are a lot more difficult now. Because at every point when we negotiate with them, we give something away. We negotiate with them, you pay them money, they become stronger, they buy more weapons through the black market, and of course you can see that through our neighbors, Niger Republic, Chad, they can bring in weapons, you know, even from some of those weapons all the way from Libya. There are weapons that the Nigerian army seized from these Boko Haram fighters that are clearly not in our inventory. You look at them, you even see NATO written on those weapons. It means that there were weapons used in Libya. So they find a way to bring these weapons in through the porous borders, and that's why they are desperate. The Abu Musab al-Banawi faction is desperate to retain his hold on the Lake Chad area. They control the Lake Chad area. So they want to retain that area because through that area they can bring in weapons and they become stronger and they will be killing our troops for fun. So we just have to support the troops, encourage the troops, and tell our government that there's a need, a pressing need to provide equipment for this army. There's an acute, and I repeat it, that there's an acute shortage of combat equipment for our troops. That is what has turned them into a defensive force. You see, most of the time when Boko Haram comes, they attack our troops. We can't even press further. We can't chase them because the fact that the nature of the equipment that we have has literally turned us to a defensive force. We can't advance. All of those attacks that you've had in recent times, how many of them were we able to launch serious counter-attack and stop these boys from escaping? No, they just come, they outflank our troops, they cause a dislocation. When they cause the dislocation, they start shooting and shooting. Look at one of the strategies that they used the other day. The people sell firewood to our troops, firewood that they use as campfire and to cook their meals. They actually slipped weapons like AK-47 under those the firewood, and they came. So the first set that came pretending to want to sell firewood were the ones who opened fire. And in the confusion, their colleagues came in, and the troops were not ready. A lot of the troops had to run into the bush. And so you find when they attack a location, as many as 400 soldiers could actually be missing. Because when you are not ready for the attack, there's no way you can mount a response. You have to escape, regroup, and try your best to retain the location. So this is what is happening. A lot has to go into making our troops stronger. If we are not stronger than we are now, we can't protect the area. Anyone who is in Maiduguri, who is knowledgeable, will tell you that Boko Haram are running riot in the interland, because those in the interland, we do not have sufficient troops to protect our people. We don't even have sufficient troops to protect their own locations. So this is a big problem. Since we started this war against Boko Haram, we have never had sufficient troops in the northeast area. Because what do we talk about? When we say, okay, you are sending a battalion. By Nigerian definition, a battalion in some cases is not even up to 400. And I challenge soldiers to dispute this with me. In some cases, not even up to 400. And when you talk of battalion, there's a number of armored tanks and gun trucks that should actually operate within a battalion. We have not been able to meet the parameters set out when they are talking about a battalion. So this is what we are going through. It's a really big problem.
Yes, GKB, this is a big problem, and like Jide has said, they need to, equip our, soldiers there. But the ICSC and other NGOs are pressuring the government to do much more to secure, their workers and that area so they can work. What more beyond buying more weapons and equipping our soldiers?
Well, I'm a very sad man, because the fact that what the International Red Cross woman said is the truth. They're all over the world, and they cannot start paying ransom for every one of the officers that fell in the line of duty. And that to me may seem callous, but that's the reality of the kind of war that we are fighting. Incidentally, in most other theaters of war, members of the Red Cross, Blue Crescent and the like get adequately protected by the soldiers. But we are talking about places where they have enough manpower to do that. Our soldiers cannot even defend themselves, not to talk of defending people that will be seen as collateral damage to the greater war. And that to me is the tragedy of the position that we are in as a people. Remember, there are people from the IDPs. To go to an IDP means that you are there to serve humanity, to solve a problem caused by a war you are never part of. You are now caught in the crossfire of that reality. So
they killed soldiers and then moved into the place.
And it's a problem we are facing. So I think what government has done wrong is because the war is on three fronts: the normal war, the psychological war, and then the territorial war. We may be winning the physical war, but we are not winning the territorial war, and definitely we are not winning the psychological war. And that to me is where we are failing. The way the war is fought now by most countries is that they don't even rely on the number of troops. They have to rely on the number of equipment that they have.
Intelligence.
People have things that they can do from the satellites that 10,000 soldiers will not do on the ground. And you have to work within that context. While I cannot blame certain elements, personally I think the security chiefs have overstayed their welcome. We need new set of people with new set of ideas, or whatever will make a difference. This guy has been on ground now for 3.5 years, and the war, instead of going down, is escalating. And what makes it worse is that those who talk during the Jonathan years and bring it to the national fore are not silent. That means most of the things that happen in this war are not reported. And a lot of people just assume everything is fine. It's worse.
It's worse.
But a lot of people who normally will make the normal noise during Jonathan years, I don't want to say they've been compromised.
Political noise. It's political noise.
But only people still talk about things that we need to do. The security chiefs have outlived their welcome. They've done their best. Let them go away.
You should thank them.
I'm thanking them on behalf of Nigeria. You've done very well, sir. Go. Let's have a new set of people. It may be a stupid idea.
That would change?
Yes, of course. It's automatic. You don't know the way from that.
Something fresh.
But some people like this system who have ideas that will never say it. Because they know the boss will not only not listen. Nothing will change.
Everyone persecute you.
Trying to outshine the boss.
So you don't have to sit down and let the problem continue.
But lives are involved. Lives, the lives of people are being taken, and drastic action is needed as quickly as possible. And then our image out there is also being threatened.
Very sad. Very sad. And I really sympathize with the family of the slain lady, a humanitarian aid worker who must have gone out there with the belief that she is going out to contribute her quota to end this war. She wasn't part of those who started this war. She probably had no idea what led to the war. She sympathized with her parents. It's a very sad one. And it will also be noted that Boko Haram, especially the Barnawi faction, has shown to the whole world that it's a terrorist group that has absolutely nothing to do with any religious claim or inclination. With the series of killings it had engaged in the last few months, it has thrown all caution to, the winds in its pretense that it's fighting a religious battle, and that should be clear to all. And it's on that note that I would want to sincerely tell our government that more needs to be done to end this war. This war is fast becoming an embarrassment to not just the country, but to all the administrations that have been coming and going while this menace lasted. He spoke about the need for more ammunition, weapons, and equipment. I don't think we need to continue to talk about this all the time. We have people saddled with analyzing or appraising this ongoing war and knowing what should be done. Is it that they are not working, or they are seeing this thing and they are not ready to talk about it?
If you could quickly hold the thought, we have Charles on the line calling from Lagos. Charles, go ahead.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Ladies. Hello?
Go ahead, we can hear you. Good evening.
Yeah, my name is Charles. I'm calling from Lagos. What I want to say is the issue of development Boko Haram team. I think from the things when Jonathan was there and told me, they know have been able to find out who are responsible for Boko Haram. Some people in Nigeria are making money from this and are benefiting. The government should be able to put their feet on the ground, identify those who are financing these people. All the vehicles they are using, don't they have any engine and chassis number? Every time they will tell us that they've arrested the Boko Haram commander. Doesn't mean that they don't extract any information from all those commanders.
Charles? All right, thank you for your contribution. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so, like I was saying, there is need to do more. For example, we keep talking about having little victory, then these people come again and overrun us. I think it is high time we go into the area of intelligence, into the area of intellectual warfare, where more information are gathered so that more strategy could be put into this war to end the menace of Boko Haram. And I think it's also time for the international community to really look our way and help with this war. If there is anything this country or any of our governments, past or present, have done to give the impression that we don't need international help, I think we should be forgiving. I think they should see this as an international menace, an international terror that is taking the lives of people, and we actually need help with this. They are in the hinterland now. They left the cities, very close to Lake Chad and the Niger Republic on the borders. They are operating. Our soldiers are not equipped enough to go after them that far, and where they can go that far, these people seem to know the terrain. So I think the government should simply ask for help where we need it, so that we can go. There was a time we had the border issues even, where the soldiers could get, where they couldn't get. There was a time we had clashes with even Niger and Chad over certain claims of who did what. I think the international community, international organizations should do more to help Nigeria. And then the National Assembly and the executive should put their differences apart and know their lives are being lost. And what if it is money we need to wage this war? It should be released as promptly as possible. The executive should ask for it. The assembly should make it available or approve of it, and that should be done. And the election that is by the corner should not be allowed to outshine the need to wage this war to a conclusive end. If for a time now we are hearing more about election than the Boko Haram menace going on in the northeast, less is being said about very serious issues going on there. We must not play politics with this. It is not in the interest of anybody for us to play politics with this war.
Well, the Senate has decided to look into this matter of the killings of the health worker, and Senator Dino Melaye is of the opinion that the way to address this, Jide, is to summon the Inspector General of Police and ask why insecurity persists.
That's he was talking about beyond the notice that generally there's insecurity in the country. Remember what happened on the Jalingo Noma Highway yesterday? Travelers were brought down from their bus and slaughtered. The killings are just an embarrassment. There are some of my funny friends on Facebook who say, oh, the killings have stopped because politicians are
focusing on the election.
These are the people who deceive themselves. There is no time that killings stopped in Nigeria on account of people doing elections and all that. No. The people who are killing other people in Nigeria, they have their reasons, and their killings have little or nothing to do with politics. There is deep-seated hatred between tribes, for which they don't need a politician to come to them before they kill people. For example, Boko Haram now, they are killing people. A lot of it does not get reported. They don't get reported. So you cannot say that, oh, politicians, because politicians are doing primaries, no killings. Except you are super ignorant. You don't know what's going on in the land. So these killings are on, and that's why someone like Dino is saying, look, the Inspector General has to do much better than he's doing now. But it's a big problem that, in my view, is even beyond the Inspector General. So the entire structure. Going back to the northeast, where these killings persist, despite it, a lot of it not being reported, you know. We have never put enough troops in the northeast. I don't think at any time we put more than 40,000 troops in the northeast. In any case, the entire Nigerian army, I doubt if it is more than 100,000. Maybe they are up to 100,000 on paper. This is the situation. In asymmetry warfare, you must outnumber the enemy by ratio 20-1 to be guaranteed of defeat and of defeating the enemy. And this is what Boko Haram continues to exploit. If you cannot outnumber the enemy by that ratio, then you turn yourself to a defensive force, which plays into the hands of the enemy. Let me tell you what is going on in the Northeast. Some communities will capture those communities up to 10 times. Why? Because you capture, you move away, they come back. I've read about bombing of some locations repeatedly, because even when you bomb, you do not put troops in that area to secure the place. They come back because it's their area. It's only inside the Sambisa forest. They will come back and retake that location because you are not there. So because we do not have enough troops, we can't chase them as much as we should chase them. We can't put troops in locations that we have seized. In all the locations that we see from these people, after a while we think there's relative peace here, we move to somewhere else. And then it cannot help. It cannot help. You must outnumber the enemy. This is not conventional warfare. Doing defensive opting for defensive tactics the way we are doing only fits into conventional warfare. Or in terms of asymmetry warfare, you have to go after the enemy, and we do not have the capacity to do that now. And those boys know that, and they are exploiting that. This is a fact. Exploiting that.
All right, quickly, JKB, your final thoughts.
Again, we just have to get the technology to win this war. And of course, like I told somebody on another platform, the number of forces we have, as well as the number of people we have in the armed forces, is a reflection of the true population of Nigeria. Because the country of 190 people and now have an armed forces of 250,000. It doesn't gel. China with 5 billion, 1.something billion people had a standing army of 4 million. It doesn't gel. At least 6-7% of the population must be in the armed forces.
All right, we need to quickly go on a break, but still to come, Governor Umahi endorses Obi, but says Southeast leaders not consulted before choice was made. Stay with us.
To become hotcakes for employment and even employers of labor, First Technical University Ibadan, TechU, is your indispensable choice. First Technical University Ibadan, that foremost in West Africa, emphasizes entrepreneurial and technical skills, competing globally and exposing students to an excellent blend of theory and practical teachings in various fields of science, engineering, mathematics, and technology. Admission for the 2018-2019 academic session is now on. Direct entry and 100 level students should apply through our application portal www.applications.tech-u.edu.ng. And to properly appreciate our ultra-modern facilities, go on an online campus facility tour through our website www.tech-u.edu.ng. Best Technical University Ibadan, developing brains, training hands.
Well, the end to a means and the means to such an end most times do not always concur. But often the end is what matters in difficult situations. Leaders of People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the Southeast are faced with such a dilemma over the choice of one of their own as vice presidential candidate for the party. Opinions are divided in the zone over the manner of selection of former Anambra Governor Peter Obi as a running mate to PDP presidential flag bearer Atiku Abubakar. Lending his voice to the debate, Ebonyi State Governor Dave Umahi said they are not against Obi's selection but faulted the process of his emergence as they were not consulted. To Umahi, the end, that is, the choice of Obi, is what matters. The means or the manner of his emergence is inconsequential. Jide, he says it's the process and not the competence of Peter Obi, but his critics say that there is more to this, perhaps his personal interest to all of this.
I don't think it's fair to say his personal interest. You see, when you talk about the East, Ebonyi is a state that always feels that it's marginalized. You look at Ebonyi, one of the newer states, in that region. they always think that they are marginalized, not given the same treatment that is given Imo, or Anambra, Anambra, the largest state in the southeast. So he is saying that, look, if there was a short list of 5 individuals, 2 from Enugu, 2 from Abia, 2 from Anambra, 2 from Enugu, 1 from Enugu and 2 from Abia, then why was an Ebonyi son not shortlisted? Or why was an Imo son not shortlisted? So if out of 3 states you had 5, the short list was 5. 1 in Enugu, 2 in Abia, and 2 in Anambra. Then he felt that from the beginning, Ebonyi had been left out. So that's his complaint, that look, if this is a project for all of us, then we need to be consulted. We need to be told that this is the way this will come about. That is his own view. Obi is his friend. And he's saying that even Obi told him that, look, if I were in your shoes, I would say the same thing. I will feel that, why have we been left out? So, and I agree, when you look at, over the years, presidential candidates have picked Igbos. We always pick Igbos for VP. But the Igbos usually do not vote for their son who is picked as a vice presidential candidate. And when you go back to even the Shagari era, Shagari picked Ekweme, Alex Ekweme, very successful architect, one of the best in the issue of Nigeria. But there are people in the southeast voted for NPP. NPP was the party of Zik, and that was the party that they voted for. They didn't say because our son is on this ballot, then we will throw our weight behind him, and MPN will win in the whole of the south. It didn't happen. Even in the even when what's his name? When Buhari picked Okadibo, it also didn't happen. When Bashir Tofa picked Sylvester Ugo, it also didn't happen. Some of those states were not won by the NRC, the party of Bashir Othman Tofa. So this is the issue. We're saying the day that the Igbo man sees clearly that he's been consulted in the choice of, in the process of choosing a vice presidential candidate, the Igbo man will feel that yes, this is my project, so let me vote for this person because I was conducted, I was part of the process. So that is the point that he's making. But you find Jonathan, the former president, saying no. When it comes to this, it is the prerogative of the candidate to choose someone that's compatible with him, someone that shares his ideas, his visions about the direction that complements his own strengths, that the government that he wants to form should go. So it goes beyond regional stamp, giving a candidate regional stamp. He's saying that the candidate needs to be allowed to choose his deputy, someone who can work with him. You know, it's always a problem to get these people to work together. So the worst that can happen to you is for other people to pick someone for you. It happened to Tinubu here in Lagos. When Mama Bokno was chosen, they contested for the ticket together. You know, after the bitter contest, then the Afenifere said, okay, Bokno, go and be Tinubu's deputy. They never really enjoyed working together. But one day, they never enjoyed working together. They all fight until towards the end of the first term, that Pedro had to come in. You know, she left on her own. She was encouraged to go. She left on her own because we are going to say that you lied against them. She left on her own. She felt, okay, I cannot take this anymore, and then she left. She was encouraged. It's a different thing if you say.
I know what he said. I guess she was encouraged.
He said.
we need to focus and move forward. But then, when Governor Dave Umahi was saying that 6 people from other region making decisions for them, does that, from what Jide has said, does it mean his statement is valid?
Yeah, he has a legitimate right to do that. Don't forget that other governors also said that they sat down with the then candidates, Boka Atiku, and they agreed on Professor Soludo. That's the agreement between the governors and the candidates. But that he came back and picked somebody else. These are legitimate demands and shows the kind of trust that you have to put in a man that you are supposed to vote into office. And you know, when people complain, I laugh because I don't see it. You have a meeting with somebody and you agreed on a particular thing. Other things may have overtaken that particular decision, granted. But common sense still dictates that you call these people and you tell them why. Even if it's 10 minutes, to the decision to be announced. I think we should have called the governor and said, guys, I know I promised you Mr. A, but the weekend factor, the northern factor, the Y factor has come in. And to all the united parties, to be in everybody's interest to go with this particular candidate. That's what they are required to do. They didn't say you should put a gun to their head. Explain. 10 minutes. Call everybody to the same room, explain to them, and then come out together.
This is what we have agreed on.
You cannot, because what they did for him in Port Harcourt was massive. I think the judge just win. He wiped the floor with everybody. You understand? He took almost half the entire delegates. So that to me is key. That some people made up their mind that is going to be our candidates. And you cannot so early in the day start showing them that do not follow promises made behind closed doors.
And so, Dare, does this threaten, so to speak, from history, as we have analyzed earlier, does this, in any way, do you see this threatening the fortunes of the PDP in that region?
It's a big problem for PDP. I just, in their own interest, hope they would sincerely resolve whatever the differences are. Because when politicians tell you, oh, we have resolved this issue, don't take it on the face value. There must be sincerity. In most of their resolutions, sincerity is always lacking. And how do you get to know? It's the eventual outcome of the entire process will show you, oh, they never really felt pacified when this happened. But they will not tell you now, so that the boss can keep moving. They will tell you, it's okay, let's go on. But don't let's rock the boat. But it's better for somebody like Umahi to come out and say this. He's rocking the boat early enough, and he's only doing that because he wants this issue to be trashed. So if anybody is putting a blame to what he is doing, then the person is not helping the PDP. To be candid, Atiku put the wrong foot forward, the way he went about selecting Obi. Like GKB said, nobody is taking the right to select his vice away from him. But before Port Harcourt, there were issues. Before Port Harcourt, Atiku had threats. And in trying to beat those threats, he turned to some people. South-East governors were part of those people he turned to.
If you could just hold the thought, we have Miriam on the line, calling from Lagos. Go ahead with your contribution.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, you see, the problem is the South-Easterners, I don't actually see them as good politicians. I'm sure that they are happy we have people be as many of them would have wanted. But you see, when key players like governors begin to make show concerns, you may not understand how it directly will affect the outcome of the election. You will not understand. You know, you can actually lay out your grievances or your concerns without the public knowing about it, because what he has done indirectly is on the psyche of his people. The man down there sees Ebony as not being carried along and will act against the party on the day of election. These things happen. And the truth is, these are people that are naturally not politically active. I'm sorry to say so. Easterners are not so relevant, and this is due to how they have played the game over time. They need to change their game plan. They need to begin to understand that politics is just more than tribalism even among themselves. So it's okay to raise concerns, but maybe it should have been done differently so that we don't affect the attitude of the man down there. That's my opinion. Thank you,
Miriam, for your contribution.
Yeah, please, to take this home, let me say this, that what has happened with Umai's complaint and the other governor's lamentation before now about Atiku's choice of a vice presidential candidate, or the process, is one, a vote of no confidence in what has been done has tactically been passed by very, very influential stakeholders, governors for that matter. People will say, oh, they sat down and they resolved this issue. But some of their followers, the electorate, the voters in the southeast, will take this thing to heart and say, he even wanted to choose one of us, he did not consult our leader. That is one. Secondly, they have found a way of creating distrust for Atiku in the southeast when they said, we sat down with him, we agreed on Soludo, but he came back behind us and picked someone else. Soludo has his own people too. There are those who feel that, oh, these northerners or this Atiku man have started again, so he wants to choose for us. Then there are also talks of somebody somewhere outside the region saying, okay, if you are not going to choose one of us in our own region, we don't want the person they choose for you. To balance this, let's choose someone else for you, or let's suggest someone else for you. So Atiku has been painted as somebody that cannot be trusted. And when he says something, he can actually change it. And then the confusion this is causing, or might have caused, in the minds of would-be voters, who ordinarily will say, oh, let's go with Atiku because he's PDP. Now, if their leader, a governor for instance, came out to say, I can no longer trust this man, we said this, is doing this. So to say this will not have effect on Atiku's chances in the southeast, a region he wants to pocket, a region he wants to take as a block to balance what will come out from, what will obviously come out from other region is a lie. He is obviously going to feel the impact, huge impact of this confusion, that the process, the manner in which he picked his deputy is generating.
All right, quickly, Jide, before we move on to the next topic. Like Miriam has said, perhaps he could have addressed this issue in a different way, speaking about the marginalization and all of that, because some have seen that saying that this statement is only showing that the southeast is divided.
But the southeast is divided in many ways. It is the southeast that you go to that some people will say, oh, you've worked in Anambra for 25 years, but you are not from Anambra, it's your husband that is from Anambra. Therefore, go back to your home state. It's happened. Even during, I remember when this man was governor of Abia, Ochendo Global, Theodore Oji. It happened. People from other states, eastern states, not Ondo people, not Yoruba people, people from southeast who are from they speak the same language. They said, oh, you are not from this state, okay, we don't want people who are not from our state to work here. And then they said they should go back to their own state. You can imagine if you got married to someone from that state, you've lived a substantial portion of your life in that place. Where do they want you to start from? So there are things that divide them, and it's unfortunate that this one has happened to, but Atiku has to now do his best to mitigate the damage that this has caused. You can see that in recent days, some groups within the southeast have been coming out to say they've endorsed Obi. You see our even Masob will come out to say we endorse this man. Maybe if they can do that consistently, and he talks to the people, he engages with the people a lot more, then they will see the need to still trust him and give him their vote. I still see him doing very well in the South-South. Because Southeast. Because that is the Southeast have always voted for the PDP. For the PDP.
All right, let's quickly move forward. To be or not to be seems to be the question on the lips of workers as the federal government and organized labor continue to dilly-dally on the exact amount for a new minimum wage. As these negotiations linger, workers are becoming worried as their patience is beginning to run dry. Oil workers under the aegis of Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, PENGASSN, have called for quick resolution of the impasse. The body, through its national president, Olabode Johnson, wants the federal, state and organized labor to resolve the differences and give Nigeria a new minimum wage before November. But after the September deadline lapsed, will November be feasible, GKB?
No, it will not, for obvious reasons. As you said on this program before, the minimum wage is like a Damascus sword hanging over the governors. They want to win elections and they cannot afford the new national wage. So they are going to drag their feet for as long as practicable to ensure that they have their cake and they eat it as well. And we said it on this program countless times. The way Nigeria is structured does not really support this kind of arrangement. But having said that, we have to realize the fact that the value of the naira when this government came in has dropped by as much as 60%. That means somebody earning 100,000 in 2015, based on what you can buy in the market, is only earning about 30,000 right now in absolute cost. Yeah. So which is different from the figure. And so there is an urgent need to get a new minimum wage out to assuage the demands of our people, because there's really hunger in the land. We can't pretend about it anymore. Things are really that bad. People that normally are protected by the middle class nets has fallen through to the lower classes, and those kind of people are even more dangerous. And even those who now make money arguing about politicians, that has now dropped by 80%, because most of those pretenders are gone. Yeah. So only those who are serious are left, and there's only so much that they can take care of within the context of no matter how much money they have. So we are breeding well-educated but not functional people who have the brains.
All right.
And if you don't really work on getting, no matter how small, 10,000, 2,005, just make the effort to show that you show concern for the Nigerian worker, or else all of us are sitting on the time bomb, and like Bob Marley said, when the rain falls, doesn't fall on only one man's house.
Do we have the capacity to resolve this issue before November?
We can only hope. Can only hope, because we must tell ourselves the truth. In Nigeria, I don't know if this happens in other climes, but in Nigeria, once we start talking about election, every other thing takes the back seat. And it's a big problem. Governance always give way to politics once we draw this close to election. And I am not going to blame this present administration for that. It's something that has become nearly a norm in our country. And now, I said this on this program before, that I always find fault with the labor, the organized labor, who always wait till election time to raise or hammer on this serious issue. I won't say they've not been talking about it before, but they wait until if this threat of strike, the warning strike, had come 2 years into the life of this administration, and they have sustained it the way they are doing now. This talk, we will have found head or tail solution to this problem. But to want to hold this government, governors who are going to, some of them, majority of them seeking re-election, they are unable to pay the minimum wage being paid now. They are owing salaries. What you are asking them to do is asking them to take ropes and put on their own neck and prepare themselves for hanging. Because if they win re-election, they will have to come back and look for double the amount they are unable to pay now. While I am not excusing them, I am saying we need to be practical. The timing of these demands make it very, very unrealistic and difficult to meet for these politicians
But there is a challenge in the land. Salaries have to be increased.
The salaries have to be increased. Salaries should have been increased before now.
Yeah.
Let's be realistic. Salaries should have been increased before now. Asking any government to have this demand for increment in salary to the struggle to get re-elected is like asking somebody to write in a notebook without opening the cover. And I don't see how this can easily be done. I'm not saying it cannot be done, but it's not going to be an easy task for either side, both the organized labor and the government, to resolve this issue. Because labor feels, especially the followers or the members now, feels this is our best time to get this done. Government feels this is the best time to escape this sword of Damocles. So how do we resolve this?
Perhaps Jude might have a different view, because this is a constitutional matter, and it seems we don't like taking matters of such seriously.
No, there's no way I will blame Labour for what's going on. I know when the president inaugurated the tripartite committee, after they inaugurated it, it took 3 months before they sat down to have a meeting. Is it Labour that is to blame for that? And then by themselves with their own mouths, they said, look, by August we are paying. August came, we do not have a minimum wage left. We moved to September, we do not have a minimum wage left. And the Labour minister complained that they were finding it difficult to get governors to even sit down and agree. Elections had not come. Primaries had not come at that time. When these governors simply didn't have the time to come and sit on that committee, because every region, every geopolitical zone produced one governor to sit on that tripartite committee. But they didn't make themselves available. And there's no way you can come up with a minimum wage without bringing in these critical stakeholders like governors into the mix. For example, the federal government could say, okay, our own, we agree to pay 24. But the constitution says there shall be one minimum wage, which will apply to the private sector, to the federal and state and local government. So the issue is, these politicians have handled the matter of workers' minimum wage with levity. And it's understandable. Those who find it difficult to even pay minimum wage, that same minimum wage of 18,000, there are governors who are unable to pay as we speak. There are many governors who are owing salaries. Some owing 2 months, 5 months, 7 months, 9 months. In some cases, governors have even stopped paying pension. Remember one governor even called pensioners and told them to consider 50% of what they are being owed. How do you tell people who have suffered all their lives, served their country, and then their entitlement, you are telling them to consider 50%? And you, in the midst of this, you see the obscene salaries, the obscene wages, not salaries now, the obscene wages and allowances that senators pay themselves. And even governors are pointing in some cases up to 2,008. Yes. I sat in front of a governor of a North Central state, and he was telling me that he came in with 2,500 aids, but that he has been able to reduce them by 1,000. I said, and he's struggling to pay salaries. He's one of the worst. I said, shouldn't you further cut down so that you can pay salaries? He said, if I do it, they will kill me. I said, who will kill you? He said, political leaders. Because these political leaders will contribute people to him. This is the problem that we face. The minimum wage that they shout that they cannot pay, if we are able to block a lot of the avenues through which the resources of our country are leaking, we will be able to pay, or even just get by. But we are not prepared to do that. You know that you don't need all those 1,500 people that he has left. He told me that it's only on payday that they show up in the local governments and they collect money. You know that a governor telling me that this is what is happening, he knows that it is wrong, he knows that it is not sustainable, but he's not prepared to do anything about it. So why would they be able to pay minimum wage? Whether the government likes it or not, this is a constitutional issue. The constitution says every 5 years you must increase minimum wage. The last time you did it was in June 2011. You must increase it. It's the constitution. Otherwise they will be contravening the letters of our constitution.
Quickly, please, we need to quickly take this call. Jerry calling from London. Jerry, are you there?
Hello?
Yes, go ahead with your contribution, please.
Hello. I'm sorry that I've been trying to get hold of this line for way back. Can I quickly talk about the issue of the Boko Haram insurgents, please?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Mr. Jude, it's the guy that you saw in crossing the airport on the 3rd of September, Ali Badabo. Anyway, quickly, can I say that I think the soldiers like